GNOME 50 Alpha. Wayland-Only. What's new and how to test it? Hi everyone! Today we're looking at GNOME 50 Alpha, the first public test build of the next major GNOME desktop, and a release that finally moves core GNOME components to Wayland-Only. This is a big milestone for the project and something every Linux desktop user should watch. Quick info. GNOME 50 Alpha is now available for public testing. It removes most X11 support from core components and focuses on Wayland as the default display stack. The stable GNOME 50 release is scheduled for March 18, 2026. Betas and release candidates will follow in the weeks before that. You can test the alpha via the GNOME OS image. But remember, it's pre-release software and may be unstable. Why Wayland-Only matters. GNOME's move to Wayland-Only for core components is the culmination of years of Wayland development and polishing. For users, this generally means improved security, sandboxing and display isolation, better multi-monitor handling, and fewer legacy X11 workarounds. But it also means some old X11-specific behaviors and integrations will change or require per-user X servers for legacy sessions. Expect smoother Wayland behavior overall, but also watch for edge cases as testers find regressions. Key technical highlights. Here are the headline technical changes you'll want to know about. Session Save Restore. GNOME 50 adds initial support for saving and restoring your session, useful for returning to your previous layout of apps. Headless sessions and RDP. A new gnome-headless-session at .service makes it simpler to launch headless graphical sessions for remote desktop use. GDM and boot display. GDM now supports the kernel chance of disclent state. Get a CFS attribute, replacing legacy boot VGA, improving detection of the primary GPU on modern hardware. This fixes problems on systems, notably newer AMD cards, that no longer expose VGA boot attributes. Mutter and compositor changes. Mutter 50, the compositor behind GNOME Shell, brings a host of Wayland-focused improvements: better tiled monitor and sticky keys handling, native X-Wayland scaling, improved tablet device support, better secondary GPU performance, and expanded color and buffer format support. For example, RGBA16, RGBX16, XB48. These low-level enhancements aim to improve performance, multi-display behavior, and professional color handling. If you're a multi-GPU or tablet user, these changes are especially relevant. App and UX improvements. Nautilus, Epiphany, Control Center, more. GNOME 50 also polishes many apps and settings. Nautilus. Files. Faster thumbnail loading, multiple file type search filters, and an improved batch rename UI. These feel like small, day-to-day quality of life wins. Control Center. Settings. Better color calibration, accessibility updates, and a save/restore toggle in multitasking settings. Epiphany. Web. Options to hide cookie banners, UI tidies, and security dialog improvements. Several other GNOME apps, Calendar, Maps, System Monitor, Clocks, Games, also received targeted improvements. Who should test this and how? This alpha build is intended for testers and developers. If you're comfortable with instability and want to help find bugs, try the GNOME OS image in a VM or on a disposable machine. Don't install it on your daily driver. Download and installation instructions are on the GNOME OS website. Quick test checklist. 1. Boot GNOME OS in a VM or USB live session. 2. Check multi-monitor behavior and scaling. 3. Try launching legacy X11 apps, X-Wayland, to spot regressions. 4. Test app features, Nautilus thumbnails, Epiphany cookie banner option, settings save restore toggle. Risks and caveats. Remember, this is alpha software. Expect crashes, missing functionality, or regressions. particularly with niche hardware or legacy X11-dependent workflows. Use it for testing and reporting issues rather than daily productivity. Wrap up. GNOME 50 marks a clear step into a Wayland-first future with practical improvements across the compositor, core settings, and many apps. If you're excited about a modern Linux desktop experience, watch the beta and RC milestones. And if you can, help test and report bugs. If you want a guided walkthrough of installing the GNOME OS image or trying specific tests, say the word. I'll make that next. Thanks for watching, and I will see you in tomorrow's video. Don't forget to like, share, comment, and subscribe for daily videos. Bye.